We can't shoot through windows? I guess not.
The Windows glitch. Hey, you're not
Okay.
the guy with the famous Tiki Talk.
I am. I just realized I'm
Oh.
famous, I guess. I keep getting recognized. But yeah, that's me.
Well, you know, I'm more of a problem with your TikToks than famous.
Well, what don't you like about them? Complain too much?
You use religion to shit on players, and I don't think that's really what your religion's used for.
Well, you would know, wouldn't you? You'd know all about it.
I mean,
Not gonna be doing transport for like a couple months.
Yeah, you tell me about what God wants me to do.
Shit about other people, but you do you, man.
Yeah, well, I don't think you see how arrogant what you're saying is. That's incredibly insulting and offensive.
I mean,
And it's my job to say, you know what?
You sound like a bitch.
Hey, we're talking. You stay over there.
You got it?
I think if you took more time to study the religion, you'd come across things like Proverbs, which is a whole section talking about the difference between fools and wisdom, and that the wages of sin is death, and that one of the definitions of sin is to miss the mark. You know, like not hitting the target. I know it's a video game, but what I'm saying in my videos is that the way these people, like, the game imitates life. It's a simulation of life. And if you can learn how to do it in a game where there's low stakes, you can apply it in real life. That's how I got good at the game. I wasn't a tryhard. It was just that the same virtues of, like, patience and persistence, they pay off in Arma, just like they do in life. But it's hard to make that point when you get so frustrated because people are so... What would you call it?
I just think video games should abstain from religion and politics.
Yeah, I can agree with that, but
Use your religious words.
I just don't have any other good metaphors that really apply. No, it's not against other people. Like, because what you don't see in the videos is how hostile those people are to me. What I'm talking about in the video is a reaction.
No, I can understand, but turning the other cheek.
Right, but that's not bending over and taking it. That's one of the lessons that you learn.
Just take it. You just turn the cheek. You
No,
don't let it
no.
affect you. It sounds like it affects you if you make
It does.
a 25-minute video talking about people being toxic and calling them a poisonous player.
Skills, come back, bro, come back.
Okay, well,
Score that.
if I could find more positive players, that's who I'd make videos about. And the reason I complain is because when I'm in Reforger, I'm swimming in a poisonous soup, and I can't find anything else. So all I have is things to complain about. And I'm trying to make those complaints to find like-minded people so that we can get together and not complain because we're not dealing with the problems.
It's a good deed.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Doesn't make it into the videos because that's not what...
Even though you're the one
Yeah,
that
that's not what-
Taliban's, I'm still. No.
Also, you're wearing our gear, right? That's not...
No?
Okay,
Left
well,
side of farm there,
I
there's
did
more.
team kill someone earlier because his name
Yeah,
tag didn't come up, and he was
yeah.
wearing almost exactly the same equipment, so
Wait, Stinger friend,
they
come back.
they
Hold
told
on.
me
You seem like a good
Good
man.
idea.
this is literally my first time on this server, so I thought somebody was saying they wear
Hey,
pajamas, so I
north
wasn't
side
sure
of
what the
farm.
uniform was,
Vehicle.
but
No, it's just regular Russian gear with some insurgency stuff.
On the
All
berm
right,
to your east.
riveting conversation, guys.
Yep.
Good luck.
yep.
Stupid motherfucking Taliban. I hate that stupid.
Whoa, careful, you almost got me. But yeah, he's a hater.
Ah, fucked up.
You need meds? I got some.
Fucking yeah, I got it. I think I got a
There's a
broken
tourniquet on your leg. Yep. Arsenal's not far, so you can make it.
That's all he is. Hey, what a piece of fucking... I healed him with my only saline, and he does that shit. That's the fucking Taliban for you. They act like they're all cool, and then they do that.
Yep.
No good motherfucker.
Well, and that kind of makes the point that I was making, like, what are the odds that he's
Yeah.
offended because he's one of the people I'm talking about? I don't know. Don't know him well enough, but... Here, I'm getting more meds for you. Hello and welcome. This is the Commander speaking. And now I'd like to give some commentary on what was shown here and the contrast between the two things we talked about. Whatever his name was saying when he said turn the other cheek, and I said that's not the same as bending over and taking it. Turning the other cheek is when you forego reaction to an insult. This guy insulted me and I turned the other cheek. That's different than just allowing other people to violently oppress you or in whatever a manner. Turning the other cheek does not mean tolerating injustice. It means not rising to insult so that you don't stoop to their psychological level so that you can give them the gospel, the good news, right? So I was turning the other cheek there and giving him the message, what is the truth about Christianity? Not whatever picture he has in his mind of this convenient Christianity, of what he's used to is where just get out of my way and let me do whatever I want because you're just going to tolerate it. That's the Christianity that has become all too common in too many countries. And I think I can explain now a better way of comparing. When I say a poisonous player, I mean that they're a snake, they're a viper. They are something that bites you and injects you with venom. That is their intention and their capability. They're not someone who's so full of poison that it just pours out of them, right? They're not a fountain of poison. They are a fanged serpent, just like Christ called the Pharisees, you brood of vipers. He invited us in to try and grenade us. He called skills back into the room so that he could try and frag us and take us out with him. Now, is that loving your enemies and praying for those who persecute you? But because I had discernment, I could tell that he was going to do that. I knew from how he was talking how I should treat him, that I can forgive him, but I don't have to trust him. Because forgiveness is the instantaneous forgiveness of an insult so that you don't stoop to their psychological level. But failing to trust them is how you protect, guard your heart, put on the armor of God. So watch that clip back and listen really carefully to his tone of voice throughout the interaction, and you can tell that his words and his intentions and what he was saying was just as poisonous and inviting. Like he's inviting us to be a victim. That's the whole point of that conversation and what he actually did. So his words match his deeds, and that's why I talk about these things this way. And I also want to be clear, I'm not hating on this guy. I don't think he did anything wrong. I think everything that happened there was fair play. I'm just making it was such a good conversation because it's such a good illustration of the contrasting views that exist in Reforger and our world about putting the values of religion and politics into practice, right? Because there's a difference between virtue and tolerance. Is tolerance a virtue? Because what we're talking about is tolerating vice. So if it's a virtue to tolerate vice, how is that any different than the promotion of vice? Wouldn't that be even more virtuous? Because that's the goal of that kind of mentality. And I do want to compliment the Old Goal Revival server number 3 here. I played for another good hour or so. Really great experience. If that guy is like the worst player we'll ever encounter, I want 50 more of him. Like that guy. I think he just had a different perspective. I don't even think he had a bad attitude. I want to compliment him some more. Like he literally, we just had a conversation, and when the time for the conversation was over, he checked out, and he's on the enemy team. It's his job to try and kill us. So I was not as bothered by that as Swung was, but Swung, like me in the past, has made the mistake of trusting these snakes too much. And I think that's a perspective of why making these videos has made it a lot easier to not have to make those videos and complain so much, because I think one good point he was talking about is that it does bother you, and it's like, yes, it does bother me. I think it bothers all of us, and I think we would be as sick as they are if it didn't bother us, and I think that's why it doesn't bother them. Like a person who's an alcoholic, what is also a poison has become the only thing their system can tolerate. And, the absence of that poison is as poisonous to their very being as the poison itself. And so you have to wean yourself off of it, I suppose. I don't know. I don't have experience with that in the same way. But I know that being too trusting of too many people has been a huge source of pain for me in the past. And that's something that making these videos and, getting more into the the real text of like, well, what does it mean when we're called to love our enemies and pray for those who persecute us? It literally means, like, so in Vinland Saga, there's this kind of mentality of I have no enemies. No, we have enemies, right? There are still people who are our enemies, and we have to treat them as enemies. But that doesn't mean that our psychological disposition towards them has to be poisoned by the hatred that makes them our enemies, right? We don't have to be their enemies in our hearts, but our heart posture towards them does not change their heart posture towards us. If it does, then they're not our enemies anymore. But they can still be our enemies and still be loved, and we can still pray for them not to be our enemies, when they persecute us, and abide in Christ's love, which acts as the armor that protects us from that poison, right? Don't put your faith in other people. Don't put your trust in them. Put your trust in God, who will never betray you, who will never poison you, who will never do any of those kinds of things to you, right? So then you can walk in the world with your eyes open, right? You don't have to be... I think this is one of the other sides of this kind of tolerant modern Christianity we see of like, we just have to be compassionate and loving towards all people in all things all the time without any kind of checks and balances or discernment between... we have to forego wisdom in order to be loving. That is not compatible with Christianity, right? Like, we're supposed to love the Lord our God with all our hearts and all our minds, right? So if in order to be open-hearted, we have to be closed-minded, that's not how it's supposed to work. And I think, I don't know if it's as clear in all my videos because it's become... I'm refining my ability to make this message and put it out there as I make these videos, and I learn along, with everyone else, I hope. But anyway, this has been... well, before I close the video, I want to say, right now I'm waiting on the 1.7 update to come out, because, the FIA is going to change that, and all the mods are going to break, and so, according to Ironbeard, his conflict escalation mod is ready for 1.7, so it won't be disrupted as much, but... right now, except for specific times and specific events, all the conflict escalation servers that I've got saved that I want to play on with the guys who are also interested in that, because that's ideal. That's the place where I'm hoping the congregation of positive players that I was talking about earlier in this clip. I'm hoping that's where it's going to happen, and I have faith that it will. But it's soon, but not yet. The 1.7 is going to shake everything up, and I think a lot of people. This is what I foresee happening. 1.7 is going to break a bunch of servers because they've got to get their mods acclimated to it again. So there's going to be a few days to a week-long period where the vanilla servers are going to populate again, because that's where everyone's going to go because the game still works and they still want to play Reforger. And the first servers that get up and running with 1.7 are going to get all the traffic. And what I'm hoping is going to happen is, because at least according to Ironbeard, on his post I saw on his YouTube, conflict escalation is going to be one of those first mods that becomes compatible with the new update, and so it's going to get that influx of players that it wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Because until you get enough players to get that great experience going, you have to play the game before you can record it to then market it to a wider audience, right? We have to do before we can show, and that's, I've got some pretty good footage, and I had some great experiences in the conflict escalation games I've had, because, most Reforger servers, it's the top 20% of players who are doing 80% of the gameplay anyway. So, on a 128-player server in a 20-on-20 match, I think what happened in the match I was in, I think it was EU headquarters had a conflict escalation match. It was Ruha, and it was basically like Advanced Insecure, because we just all went down the MSR building our bases, but basically, and this is something I talked about last night with some of the guys I was playing with, that, when you have just good players, a 20-on-20, that's the top 20% of a team, and then the rest are AI, you don't even notice. You don't even notice that the server is empty. In fact, it's a way better experience, because at least the AI that are taking the place of these players that don't do anything, at least the AI are like actually going back and forth down there. Like, the AI are doing stuff. They're going towards the enemy bases and attacking. When you've got 3/4 of the team that never leaves MOB, this is the average Reforger experience. They come in, they look around, and they leave, or they make a kit. And if it's modded, they stand around playing Barbie at the arsenal. They make their kit, they go into the field, they don't have a good experience, and then they leave the server. That's how the queue stays processable. Like, that's how you can get through the queue, because people are coming in, they're not staying, and they're leaving. It's not someone who's been there 3 hours who then finally leaves, and you have that on rotation so that every 15 minutes someone's leaving. No, it's there's about 20 to 30 players on each team that stay in the round, and there's about 20 to 30 players that aren't there more than 10 or 15 minutes. You know, if that's the kind of queue you see. So NA4 War Pigs with Conflict Escalation is pretty much my main home, but you won't see me there as often until after the 1.7 happens and we see how that shakes out. I was on there for like a week straight, and it's just not populating. And you know, there's no sense in me or anyone else sitting there bored in a server like that. So join the Discord. That's where I'll post where I'll be in the meantime. So if you want to play with me and be part of that group of positive players we're putting together. And I'll also post in there what events I'm attending. That's the other thing I'm doing, is Season Secure with the Band of Beardos. I'm doing that pretty often. EU headquarters and EU during the day, because I'm in North America. And so, you know, until people get off work in North America, there's really nothing happening on NA4 War Pigs. But, you know, when they have an event there on their NA3 Season Secure, or their weekend events on NA4, you know, just check the Discord, because it's in description. Join it. That's where I'm going to post where I'll be. And join all those other things. Join Band of Beardos. Join the War Pigs Discord. Join the EU headquarters Discord, and you know, that's where they post their events there. Because especially Season Secure and the EU headquarters matches, it's useful to sign up, because just like nobody joins a match until, you know, there's enough people actually already in the server to populate it. Nobody wants to be the one to populate a server. You want to be the one joining an already populated server. These little sign-ups in the Discords allow you to front-load all that, so that when you show up, there's 20 or 30, 40 other guys who are there. Boom, you all join at this, like, you designate the time and place, you all join together, you seed the server, and then boom, all the other people who didn't sign up, like, you get the minimum number you need through the sign up to seed the server, and you don't have to sit there for 6 hours. You sit there for maybe a few minutes, you know, 10 or 15 minutes during the battle prep phase or the server seeding phase, and it just saves everyone time. And then all the people who won't sign up because they're not in the Discord or don't know about it, they can see, oh, here's a server that's populated, then they can come in and fill out the server. I think that's the process right now at the stage Conflict Escalation is at, because you know, it's still such a new mod that word hasn't gotten around. But I think this next week or so, when 1.7 drops, is going to be what gets us that initial traffic for people to start making content and then marketing it to a wider audience on social media to then come check out the servers and help with that seeding process. You know, people will start saving in their tabs, and when they see, oh, there's a few guys in there, I remember that server, that's from that video, I better check that out. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now. This has been the Commander speaking. Over and out.